All
Right.
right.
Hi guys. Me and Ginger
Hi.
here. We're rabbiting away and we thought we'd share it because they're talking about lots of stuff. So, to begin with, what we were talking about was I was at a friend's house the other day and I heard a song playing. And the first line of the song is, I don't believe in an interventionist God. And I thought, wow, like, neither do I. I don't believe in an interventionist God. And how many times do we go like, oh, God save us from this, or oh, like we kind of pray to the upper self in a situation where, but I don't believe in it. So it's like an oxymoron, it's like a contradiction in itself. So we were talking about, well, if God isn't capable of intervening on our behalf, and you were talking about something with regards to that, and I cut you off. So what were you going to say about it?
Well, we do that to one another because we think so much alike, and I think we're trying to compliment and or at least say, "Yeah, I get what you're saying." So we cut each other off a lot, but we're actually not. We're still in the stream, and yeah, my feeling about that is that we are the gods. We are the
Yeah,
generators and the operators and the destroyers, and most of us apparently. 70% of us, you were just sharing that with me, 70% of us um, don't want that responsibility of
no,
being the generator. And
yeah,
so, but yet they, in fact, are the generators. They are generating their thoughts, and their reality becomes so. I don't know, autopilot. It's a more comfortable space for them where they're being led and told what to believe. And, it's not your fault. There's no responsibility here. Just keep doing what you're doing. Everything is fine.
so I sent Ginger a video this morning, but I don't know what platform it came off. I think it must have come off either one of these video shorts, but I've got the woman's name on the video, and I'm going to share some of the video with you. I can't share you a link because I don't know where it came from, but I can give you the girl's name and you can look up for yourself. So I'm just going to press play and share. I'm going to share the screen first. No, I'm not. Am I? Yes, I
Well, it's
share
definitely
screen.
worth
Yes, I am.
watching. I'm
I
sure
am
you're
going
going
to,
to you'll find it
there you go. I'm going to share the screen
there.
first. Then I'm going to share oh, then I'm going to let the thing disappear. Then I'm going to share the sound, which is already sharing. And then I'm going to play the video from the point that we talked about.
70% of the population lives in a consensus state, which is basically a herd mentality.
So she's talking about the subject of how can I wake up my friends and family.
Hmm.
And she introduces the start of this video talking about how can what the explanation is for them sharing a different reality than she's sharing. So I'll just press play for a bit longer.
So these are the
Yeah.
literal NPCs of the world. So they don't form independent thought. When they want to know what their opinions are on certain topics, they just look to the external world. So these kinds of people will tend to get the most offended when you present them certain views that go outside of their paradigm, because their beliefs actually represent unconscious security needs. So they unconsciously gain security in trusting the mainstream media, celebrities, the experts, the government. They basically can't really think for themselves, so they seek security in outsourcing their opinions to the outer world. And moving from this consensus herd mentality to the next stage, which is an individuated state, is actually often a traumatic process, because instead of trusting the external world like you always have, the government, the authorities, you actually have to learn how to trust self as an inner guidance system instead.
So what we're talking about here is rather than again believing in the interventionalist God stuff, so believing that there's somebody out there that's going to intervene on your behalf, you then take self responsibility for the idea that you've actually created it all yourself. And
that's quite a heavy thing for people to carry. And I created a video just a little while ago about what dream are we dreaming and questioning whether or not I should try and wake people up. So I really can relate to what this young person is saying, and grateful for this conversation because I think it's a very important one. It's how we find our way to the middle, because if 70% of us are looking for leaders, you can be sure that 1% at least are looking to lead. And that's one heck of a responsibility. And what
I
are they leading them towards if
I
they have a herd mentality?
I still think that there's truth in the MasterCard of the Osho Zen Tarot, where the MasterCard, which is actually an additional, I mean, technically there's 21 Master Arcana in a traditional tarot deck, but in the Osho Zen deck, there's 22. And the 22nd card, which is actually 21st card, because the pool's 0. So the 21st card in the Osho Zen deck is the Master. And what they talk about in the Master card, I mean, I should actually read it out for you. But it talks about the Master being not a master of others, but the master of himself. And that
Makes perfect
people,
sense because it's a journey. We're
it's
on they call it the fool's journey or the hero's journey. And that's what the Tarot is speaking to. It's all about the story of our experience and how it unfolds from the time we arrive and the tools that we're given
and not
and the
wishing
sacred geometry of it all. It's all
and
written in the Tarot.
and not wishing to change anybody else's path. Never
Correct.
ever have the
Acknowledging.
intention. Only say that I found a way to get through this with a more peaceful. But you don't even have to say that after time. You just are it.
You
So
just
that
become that,
you just
and
become
you're
that,
correct.
and
You
then
just
people
become that, and
then
people become curious.
and then people emanate because they see a peacefulness in you, I guess. But
I
that you're
agree.
not actually leading anybody, or you're not actually telling anybody what to do. You're just finding the ways through to find more peace for yourself, really. And then it's up to others whether or not they follow what you say, or not even following might not even be the right word, because that could be disempowering too. But it's like,
Well, I think this is such an important conversation for people with the intention of helping others,
mm,
because we can only help those that seek help.
mm,
And, the rest are going to remain oblivious.
mhm.
And I do feel that we have seized the opportunity as a species. Um, and again, we just don't know it. I feel that we have the wheel and don't completely know that. I think that some of us still think that someone else has control of us. But my point of view is that most of what we're learning at this time would not have been made available to us in any way, shape, or form, um, if we did not have the wheel, if we didn't have control.
No,
So I think it's important for us to acknowledge that. I think she goes on to talk about how important it is for us to
I can play a
just,
bit more of it.
yeah, create more of what we do desire. And like you were saying, vibrate at a much different capacity, a different level.
Her her name's Laura Matsue. That's Laura Matsue Matsue. So I'll
And I did a
play.
quick search. She speaks a lot about spiritual warfare
Right.
and spiritual psychology and evolutionary astrology. So for anybody who's interested, I encourage you to look for her. She's quite wise.
Right, I'm going to press play and play. It's only 3 minutes long, so it's only going to be another minute or so.
Dead. And in order to do that, you actually have to decondition and undo a lot of what you thought was true about yourself and the world in the process. So, this is a really alienating and lonely process by design, because in order to discover who you are, you actually have to separate from the herd to begin with. And the thing is, you can't actually force people out of this state. It has to come from an inner calling. So it has to come from them realizing that there is something different inside of them that can't be explained.
And like I said earlier, that's a bit like in the video I did a couple of months ago. I did one with Nigel on the subject of the pirates and coming into that pirate scene in Monty Python, The Meaning of Life. And then I did a separate video on that myself, just to re-clarify what he was talking about in that, because he talks about the fact that the soul isn't awake from the point of inception, despite the fact that the Catholic Church or any church would have you think that everybody has a soul. They say in that Meaning of Life video and then Monty Python, the joke that everybody does have a soul, but not everybody's soul's awake. And like she said, it's hard. It's a really hard process to get yourself to wake up. It's not an easy path at all, because it's actually much easier to go with the herd. It's actually much easier to have everybody do stuff for you.
They say ignorance is bliss.
Yeah, it is.
You know, and I can say I can blame them for just wanting to live a simple life. However, in recent years, we've seen tyranny and corruption, and it's not going to get any better. And, you know, these are the leaders the so-called leaders that we've had, you know, that are being exposed. And, you know, we've put our faith into tyrants.
Yeah.
And a broken system. And I do think it's important for people who just want to follow to, at the very least, be able to have that conversation.
Yeah.
You know, if they cannot appreciate or they're fearful of the mystery and the mystical, then, you know, perhaps they can just create a little empathy in their body for the rest of us who are having these very sensitive experiences and are able to see a way of being. You know, there's another way for us to do this. We don't have to keep doing what we've always done. That's very habitual and herd-like, and that's not innovative. And that's what we really need right now. I think we really need creators and innovators and new thinkers. You know, what is our limit? We've been led to believe that we are powerless, and we know better now.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. We have been led to believe that we think we're powerless.
As you said, like with Nigel speaking about, you know, the souls not being awake, it is very true. But I think that some of us are given the opportunity to say, well, tell me more. And instead we turn on, you know, the internet, or we turn on another distraction, or, you know, we keep busy doing things that keep our minds away from the mystery.
But I actually think that part of this turning the soul on, if you want to talk about like that in words, like turning it into an activated mode, is actually lines with the truth. So it's like speaking your truth, not speaking bullshit because it's the best thing to do or the polite thing to say. You know, the amount of people that sort of say, oh no, you know, you shouldn't say that because it might be hurtful. Well, actually, no, that's the truth. And I'm sorry if it offends you, but that's the truth.
It is important for us to speak it because others already know it. I think, you know, so many of us
Exactly.
are learning about, you know, our spiritual side and that sensitive side that really can read the room. We're all telepathic.
So if
And
I say to
so
you, Ginger, I don't want to talk to you tonight because I've got a I don't know. I'm trying to think of some excuse because I've got a doctor's appointment or something. You would
I
know
immediately know, I already know when you're telling me the truth and when you're telling me a
when I
polite excuse.
when I'm
I
fobbing you
can
off.
tell that.
Mm.
And, you know, if you try to confront that, you'll be told, no, 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 no,
Yeah,
that's not,
yeah,
you
I
know,
know. No,
and
it's nothing to
that
do with
person will
you.
lose your
No,
number because, you know,
yeah,
oh, I don't want to be exposed. I want to keep my mask on.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I
I don't want
agree.
to be exposed. I
Yeah,
want to keep hiding. I want to hide with the herd. I don't want to stand out,
yeah.
you know, and I don't want you to see me,
No, yeah.
you know, so they're not comfortable
And
around us.
it's also that backpedaling, you know, like somebody saying, like, oh, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. Are you going, oh, really? Why don't you want to do that? Oh, because of this, whatever. You don't need to make the excuses because that's all part of the backpedaling. It's all part of the being defensive, and it's not necessary for us to do that anymore because
No, it really
everybody,
isn't.
everybody knows it. Everybody knows the truth, regardless of whether they're asleep or awake. They know the truth. They can tell it.
Well, especially if you reveal your birth date to people,
Mm,
because people like me, I'll get a lot of information about you with that little piece of information, not to mention your facial features, all of it. We can read the astrology. If we become really skilled and build that muscle, we can tell a person's astrology by their appearance.
mm.
So we get a lot of information, and some of us are just not comfortable with the truth, and that's okay. I have no animosity towards people that prefer to stay hidden. I don't want you to see me. I want to tell you a comfortable lie. I accept that, but I will not necessarily trust you.
But it just means that you're not awake. That's all, really.
That's for
Because
sure.
the part of the alignment is when that most people will refuse that instinct to not tell the truth. Most people, because it's the polite thing to do, because it's societal again towards the herd. Society says that we shouldn't offend people like that. But once,
Politically correct. There's certain words we shouldn't use, shouldn't, couldn't, says who?
mm,
Says who? Who made that rule?
I
Who
know,
made it for us to not be able to speak whatever comes through our it's our
our
vehicle.
consciousness.
It's our vehicle, it's how we communicate. And if we put ourselves in a state of shame, to comfort somebody else, I'm
Oh,
not going to do that. If I'm
okay.
not willing or able, I mean, I don't want my friends to ever question, or the people in my life, I don't want them to ever question my intentions. If I say yes, I mean it. And if I say no, I mean it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's nothing to take personally. It's just for me, it's a yes or a no.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Now, there's one other thing I wanted to talk to you about tonight. And I'm about to forget what it is. Sorry.
We're going
Um,
to remember.
are we going to remember? Are we?
We're going to remember. It'll come back.
Nah, sorry, it just went.
It'll come through again if it's supposed to.
Okay. Yeah,
But I
not
do
sure what
find
that
this
was.
this conversation is very, very important. I think that that was very interesting what you shared about the 21st card, the master. I liked that. And the two and the one adds up to three. So we were talking about the power of three, the Trinity. That's the number of creation in my mind. And it's the number of the triangle, the pyramid, if you will. And I've been wondering lately about our nose. Isn't that sort of a pyramid shape?
Oh,
you
I I was in
if there was a pyramid on our body.
I was in the doctor's earlier, right? And I'll read this to you because this is the Osho Zen. I'll read the whole thing to you. I was in the doctor's surgery earlier, and the this questionnaire came up, and I'm thinking, and it was saying like, how well do you score? And it was asking these really stupid questions. But one of the questions was, which part of your body keeps on growing throughout your life, always grows? And it was like your eyes, your ears, or your nose, right? And I'm thinking, I bet it's your nose. And it because I did that Pinocchio video about your nose growing and about the fact that you tell lies and your nose continues to grow. And it was the nose that continues to grow.
It's unbelievable. I wonder if that's maybe there's some truth in that. All these comfortable lies. Maybe that's why it keeps growing.
Yeah, exactly. Leave that out there.
Uh, but it is our little pyramid, it seems.
Um, right, so this is the master Osho Zen is not the teacher of others, but the teacher of himself. For every single word or act he makes, it reflects enlightenment. He has neither any personal desire, sorry, any purpose nor desire for anything, but always lets things happen just as they should be. There is nothing to strive for, even though his surrounding disciples are not always beside him, yet they feel his presence and be inspired by his actions. In his eyes, the disciples could find their truth reflected in his silence, and they could easily immerse themselves in their own silence. The master welcomes his disciples, which is not because he wants to lead them, but because he has much to share. Together, they create a great source of energy that could support each individual in search of their own light. If you could find such a great teacher, you're very blessed. If not, then keep searching. Let's learn from the preachers who will be the teachers and let them step forward, like Buddha Tathagata said. Let's go, don't stop, keep moving forward. Allow yourself to step out into this earthly striving and seek your highest perspective of all things. So, apart from the minds, there's an intrinsic awareness. If something's in the external world could give you, sorry, it is not something the external world could give you. It is also not an idea. And so far, there is not any research pointed out yet in which a place in our brain will correspond to it. A lofty aim of meditation is to remind us to stay alert to our mind and get rid of our own identification with it. The distance is the greatest revolution that can take place in a human. I don't know whether that makes any sense to you at all, but I can really, really relate to this. And I can also say that it relates to the thing that I forgot.
The alarm has gone off. Oh dear. It could get loud. But yes, it does. I do relate to that. And I do think it kind of reminds me a little bit of the energy of the hermit, funny enough. And the hermit is lighting the way for the others, and knows that there's only so much that we can do. And again, I feel that people have to seek it, and that they won't even be remotely aware of it if they don't choose it.
Yeah.
They have to want to.
Yeah.
And they'll miss the opportunity over and over and over again by choice. I think it's a choice, and it might be very subtle. They may just be in the habit of saying nah, but I think that we're given that opportunity to go in that direction, and we get to choose every day.
Yeah. So the thing that I forgot to talk about that I then wanted to talk about was actually in that it's about the ego. So I came across this awareness the other day, or just like a passing, fleeting thought, really, but it was to do with funny people. And I came across the concept that witty, funny people actually have a very high ego. That they have a high ego in order for them to be witty and funny. It's like two faces of a card. You can't be witty and funny if you haven't got very high, healthy self-esteem, because otherwise you wouldn't be confident enough to carry yourself through being witty and funny. But by the same token, part of your spiritual path is actually to get rid of your ego, or to not rely on it so heavily. And then with it goes the funny and the witty. So the further down the spiritual path you get, the more serious life becomes.
I agree with that. And I had to make a conscious effort to find humor. I had to really bring the laughter in. And I thought, how do you even do that? Because the things that used to make me laugh don't make me laugh any longer.
I know.
I've outgrown it.
I know.
And
I've got the
now
same problem.
what? So I was calling for, we need the musicians, the writers, the songwriters. We need all these people, the creators, to find the courage to step into their true story and announce it, let it fly. And the more I think, oh, we need this, the more I discover it's already there. There's so many wonderful people out there that are creating it. It's already, that's why I say I feel like we do already have the wheel. Every time I look for something I think should be, it already is. And, there are many people that are creating from that very spiritual and mystical space that helps to light the way. They are the masters. They've mastered it and they have found humor in it, and they've been able to laugh at the divine comedy. It's absolutely not funny. Like one side of it is horrific, and the other side, we have to be. I don't think have to be. We don't have to be anything, but I think it's good to be lighthearted, and it helps to bring light into the body.
So if you look at some of the comedians over time, I mean, one of my favorite, and I know I talk about this video all the time, is that George Carlin video. What's it called? The Big Electron. I mean, I just absolutely love that. It's like, to me, it's the epitome of description of what it is that we're here doing. It's just a ride, it's not real. Don't take it personally. It's not real. It's just a ride, go ups and downs and round and rounds, get pretty colored, but it's just a ride. And how they can make a comedy out of that. I love that level of thinking. I love that level of thinking that can take you outside of the seriousness of what it is that we're doing here, and the need to be responsible, in both physically responsible, like responsible to the physical ends of the world, but also spiritually responsible to ourselves.
Yes.
And we can fluctuate away from that at times. I mean, I know that at the moment I've hardly made any videos myself. And personally, I stopped worrying about it because it's just not coming to me. So then I'm quite happy to make videos with you, or you and James, or whatever, because the individual ones are just not coming to me. So I'm not going to get stressed out about the fact that I'm not getting the inspiration. I'm just not going to worry about it.
Well, and I think that you are being inspired. I think that it's happening, and but I think that there's a period of digestion you go through when we start to realize that yes, in fact, we are responsible. It is a lot to carry, and but when we find a light-hearted way of carrying that knowledge, and in my way, I don't know. I think that isn't it nice to laugh? I mean, laughter is good medicine, right? It helps to just lift the body and it makes the task so much lighter. And I do think that there's an advantage to it. But I also see that there are some cultures that see that as a weakness. And,
Really?
I think so. I believe so. There's not a lot of laughter, and I won't point fingers, but that's my experience is that laughter is not a natural thing for all cultures. And yeah.
I kind of dispute you on that, because I would say that some cultures are a lot more innocent than our culture is. So, like,
Yes.
they would giggle a lot more, but they would giggle a lot more over really insignificant things that we wouldn't giggle over, like a sausage falling off a barbecue. You know, they would giggle at that. We wouldn't giggle at that anymore.
No.
There's
That's true, Kim. That's very true.
an
I just wonder
innocence.
sometimes how they would perceive others who are like incredibly lighthearted. Some of us are just always seeking laughter. And I do not see that as a strength. I think it's important to be able to, as you said, sit as the master and say, okay, I've got to have both sides in check. I've got to check the left and the right. It can't be all one and or all the other. That's not healthy. We've got to weigh it out. We've got to find the middle. And that to me seems more likely.
It's very, very, very difficult to find authentic laughter. because the vast
Oh,
majority of canned comedy, I mean, most of the comedy that's out there, like if you're talking about television movies or you're talking about the only ones that I seem to be able to laugh at all are cats and dog ones or baby ones, you know? If you take it back to instance and you go, oh, that's so cute, you know? Um, like this one I was watching the other day, and it was just a woman with her baby, but the cat came in the room carrying its baby and came and sat alongside the woman and
oh,
her baby. And it's like, oh, that's so cute. Uh, you can kind of like feel the empathy of something through animals. I don't know. It's very also animals and babies can make me laugh still and go, oh, how cute.
I
That
had to find my way out of a dark place once, and I said, what is it that really lights me up? And puppies and babies.
yeah,
They don't lie. There's absolute pure innocence. It's just pure spirit energy.
yeah.
And for me, it's all puppies and babies, and just the most innocent of the herd, I suppose.
So
We can appreciate when they love us, you'll know it, and when they don't, you'll know it.
it's
there's no it's not black or white with them. It's just, well, it is black and white with them. It's either you're good or you're not.
this
And my
face
dogs will teach me all day about people.
this Facebook friend of mine got a puppy, and that's the puppy.
Oh,
And I sent you a picture of it earlier. He's so cute.
beautiful.
It's
Oh,
so
he's
cute.
beautiful.
Isn't he?
Oh,
And
that's
she's
very
called
sweet.
Daisy Moon or something. She's called her Daisy Moon. Look at that.
Oh,
It's so
she's
cute.
lovely. Oh,
All right. Puppies and babies. So
puppies and babies, when all else fails, find puppies and babies, and just let your mind venture off into the more pleasant thoughts.
yeah.
It's not easy for us to be learning all of what we're learning, and it's certainly not easy for us to accept responsibility for our own thoughts. And the concept of that, it's pretty far away for a lot of people because they're still using Western medicine, for example, to control their ruminating thoughts, or you know there's another way to do this. And
Mm.
a lot of us have learned this, and we're trying to light the way for others. Minerals are very important in mastering our thoughts, because without the mineral, um, for Aries, that's this zone on each one of us. But if each one of us is missing I think it's Kali phosphoricum. If we're missing that mineral, we're not going to have clear thoughts. We're not going to have clarity.
How
We're
can
going
we
to have
tell?
an imbalance. I think just by using it, it's a mineral. And, speak with your pharmacist. But in my opinion, I'm not a doctor. In my opinion, you're going to pee it out. You're just going to let it out. Your body will let it go if you get too much of it. I can't personally imagine any harm coming from using these over the counter homeopathic micro doses of minerals
Mm,
that are part of who we are.
mm.
It's a part of who we already are. So, again, do your own research, but that one in particular, Kali, and thinking of that word,
Yeah,
Kali is the destroyer
I
goddess,
know.
right?
I know.
Right?
I know.
And so if that mineral alone, the phosphoricum is all about the light. It's all about the fire. It's all about, how do we keep it lit? How do we keep our mind lit? We need that kind of mineral support and deep breaths
Have you
and the knowledge that we can control our path.
are
We
you,
do have that ability.
are your puppies crying to be in?
They're fine. They're crying here or there, so I'll let them be there for now.
You babysitting puppies tonight? Oh, today.
We have the privilege of having a guest for a few days. Our puppy is a year old on he turned a year on
Wow.
February 14th, so on Valentine's Day,
Wow.
and his brother is visiting, and we get that privilege quite often.
Oh, that's
And
so
the gentleman that has him lives nearby, and we have a very nice relationship where we can allow them to play together, which is very cool.
That's
but
good.
loud.
And used to get in their own way.
Oh, yes, of course. Yes, they're puppies. Like I
Uh,
say, my heart, it's lit up by, the most innocent
mm,
and the most authentic of us. I used to call myself a truth seeker, and then I said, you know what? I don't think there's any such thing. I think we all have a different perspective about things, and that there's no possibility that there's could be one truth
no.
in that case.
Again,
And
pop-up
so,
world,
but
it's each of us has our own perspective
yeah,
on what's true and what's true for
yes,
me. And it's according to experience, you know? I mean, if
yeah.
if you had had the experience of every time you went to the beach, the weather was terrible and it poured with rain every time you went to the beach, right? Then your view of the beach should be like, oh, it's a wet and rainy place. Whereas if every single time I'd gone to the beach, it was beautiful and hot and sunny, my view of the beach would be, well, it's a hot and sunny place. So it's very, very dependent upon the individual's experience of truth as to what the truth is.
I agree. And, I have five boys, and I think they've each had a very different experience. I mean, they may agree on some things, but they would each have a very different perspective of what life has been like under our roof.
Mm.
I think each one of them would have a different story to tell.
I had
They have some common ground, but they each have a very different way of experiencing their lives at this time. I can't see why it would have been any different as children.
I had a friend of
I know
mine
it wasn't.
that's now dead who did a PhD for a counseling degree that she did. And her PhD was based upon the difference of each child's view of the experiences of growing up. So, like, who was the favorite child, for instance? So she'd go around and she'd do an interview with her four siblings, because there's five of them. And each one of them had a different view of who the favorite child was, depending on where the placement of that. And she said almost every subject, they even remembered things completely differently. They remembered dogs' names differently. They remembered, you know, responsibilities differently, who had to do all the cleaning up and that type of thing. It's really weird.
I had that experience with someone the other day. They said, "Do you remember so and so that did such and such to such and so?" And I said, "Well, sort of, but I don't remember it that way. I remember they did this to such, somebody else
Yeah,
altogether." And
yeah,
it was a very strange. And we both just said, huh, and moved on. There
yeah,
was no big dispute about what could have happened, but I know
yeah,
that it's a very odd thing when we have that common knowledge. It's that mandala almost, you know,
yeah.
or the
Common,
kaleidoscope. I
yeah.
prefer kaleidoscope because I do think that it's just so faceted, multifaceted
Mm,
way of seeing.
mm.
We can't possibly all perceive things the same. One size does not fit all.
Right. I'm going to cut it off there so it's not too long.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
Nothing personal.
not nothing personal taken.
Okay.
No, I just think it's very good to be aware, but at the same time, it is a great, huge responsibility. And so to give yourselves time to digest and figure out, well, which is the best way forward for me, and learning to have that inner dialogue with your mystical side. If
So,
you're just learning about this, if this is just coming into your awareness, spend a little time learning from people who are already doing it.
so before I cut it off, what I'm going to do is play the rest of that video. I'll,
Great,
okay. And then we'll close it off after that. So I'm just going
great,
to
yeah.
press play again to check.
By the experts, science, celebrities, government. And in my view, it really takes a certain ripeness of the soul to even want to go down that path, because it's not easy. Most people will actually refuse the call of their individuation again and again and again, because their unconscious security needs to stay in the unknown, the known rather, of the consensus is so strong. So you don't want to like hate them for that. It's actually a necessary stage in their own soul's development. And this is why trying to wake up family, friends, and others in general is almost always a failed project. And really, how I feel about it, the best thing you can do in these times is focus on your own soul evolution and find something unique about you that you can bring back to the world. And the reason why I'm saying that is because it is the most highly individuated and spiritualized people who actually create the next consensus. And they don't do this by forcefully trying to wake up the people who are asleep. They do this by bringing back their true essence, their true nature, and their soul gifts back to the consensus.
That's what we're talking about. So we do it by working on ourselves, not
That's right.
not with the intention of working on other people.
That's correct.
That's it.
But to not share that knowledge, I think is,
It's a
you know,
sin.
it's a tricky thing. I struggle with it because I'm very aware of, you know, the path that they'll be on once they have that awareness. So I trust that if people are in my presence, you know, if they seek that support, then it's the right thing to do.
Okay.
And
I agree.
otherwise, you know, or if
Especially
they find the
if
video,
somebody asks for help, I'll give it.
that's how I see it, Kim. And the rest, well, I can only imagine the best possible outcome. And I imagine it sooner than later. I'm forever optimistic, you know, and at this time, you know, I think that we are, as she said, you know, we are the consensus now.
Yeah.
We are creating
Yeah.
by consenting. So every time we consent to something that doesn't feel right to us, then we're saying yes to it.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't feel right, then we probably shouldn't say yes. And we should be unapologetic and authentic.
Exactly. All right.
You know,
So on that note, I'm cutting you off.
Yeah, that's good.
Bye.
All the best.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.